these personas that you have all share the same history. They all call themselves the same name as you. It's just that they have different values. They have different motivations. Some of them are very destructive, and some of them are less so destructive. Some of them could be helpful in certain areas and unhelpful in other areas. It's a complicated situation. We are legion, so to speak. And the Spirit of Truth will help you to start to see this enigmatic quality in the subconscious mind and start to bring all these personas together so that they become one and you become one harmonious you again. All right. Thank you all so much for showing up. Today we're going to have a question and answer about the upcoming training. We've got some physical training in late June. 23rd through the 28th will be a TEM retreat. It'll be very different from I've ever taught in the past, and we'll go over that. And then we'll have a Shinkaido or TEM Martial Arts 3-day training, which I'm very excited about. My health has returned to the point where now I can teach the martial arts. I've been teaching it here to a few local people. And the key point is it's not really a martial art in the sense that you normally think of it in terms of techniques. And so I'll explain that as well. And then we'll talk a bit about the upcoming group class. And if there's interest in that, we'll do it. It's the Spirit of Truth course, going through it as a group, and I'll lead that group. And then we'll open it up to any questions you may have. All right. I just ask that if you would keep yourselves muted, that'd be fantastic. You automatically come on muted, so that shouldn't be a problem. So in the past, I've taught what I call intensives. And they're usually 5 days, and they are very intense. We start early in the morning, and we train until late at night, every day for 5 days. And this is in meditation, of course. And I've done a few others in different flavors, but primarily in meditation. And the beautiful point about the intensive training is you get to actually feel physically the effects of your meditation ability. If you don't have a grounded, truly functional meditation, it will show up in your movement, and we will be able to detect it. And so we have various methods that we use, and in fact, an entire system that we use to help you detect the weaknesses in your meditative abilities and awareness capacities. It's fantastic. It's super exciting. And it's something you probably have never experienced before unless you've been to one of my training seminars or intensives. In this case, we're going to be doing a retreat. It'll be a lot slower paced. I know that in intensive, people can get pretty tired by the time the end comes around. They're very tired. But we'll have this one aimed towards rejuvenation, towards health, towards clarity, towards recovery. It should be quite a soothing experience, might be a better way of describing it. And we'll be using the awareness meditation probably in ways that we haven't done it in the intensive training. We'll also be going over what I call autonomic stretching. And this is an entire system that is designed to help the body to rebalance and rejuvenate. It's the closest thing you might call it. You might think of it as yoga, but anybody who's done yoga will recognize that it's also very different from yoga. It's very difficult to describe, but it's something that you'll be able to take home and do on your own. And assuming you practice it, it will help you to become much more embodied, much more aware of how your body works, how it all interconnects, and allow your mind to settle into your body much, much more. Before I go on to the martial arts aspect, I'd like to open it up to any questions you may have regarding the first training, the TEM retreat. And you can type those into the chat, and I'd be happy to answer them. We'll be starting at 1 and at 1 p.m. on the first day and finishing at 1 p.m. on the last day. So it'll give you time to fly in, maybe set up your tent and get situated on the same day if you need to. And anybody who's been to a previous seminar, I'd love to hear your feedback on what your experience was with regard to the testing system that I have for your meditation. I believe Irene's been to one. I think currently that Irene is the only one here that has been to a more recent seminar. We've got another person who's come to some of my original seminars. I wonder if Irene, you'd be able to talk a little bit about your experience with the intensive and how it might have helped you in your training.
Certainly, Richard, it's been my pleasure. First of all, just physically being with you and the other students and the environment, I think the whole of that plays an important aspect because you're away from home, you're not in your usual environment, and it's meticulously planned in such a way that every day is different, even if it's an exploration that you think you've done before and you have, it becomes more alive. And that connection with spherical awareness, the environment, it opens that experience up much more, I would say. I found the intensive course to be extremely helpful in experiencing how I see and perceive my own explorations and how much deeper it's possible to explore than originally I had thought was possible. So it was a total positive experience, and I really appreciate the fact that I was able to come over and participate, and I would love, given the opportunity, to be able to come and visit you again.
Just so everybody knows, so this picture that I've got here, this is the view you'd have from our training area. This is it's a beautiful place. Looks just like that right now, actually. And it's in June, it should be quite beautiful. So you'll be spending your time there. Some of you most people come in tent, and so you'd be tenting and basically in this spot and enjoying the nice mornings and evenings. I want to go back to Irene and ask you just one question. Was the testing method that we had to verify or to let you know where your limitations in spherical awareness were, what did you feel about that? How was that? What was your impression of it initially?
Very frustrating initially, because the first time we started doing that, there was a feeling I didn't get it right. I wasn't in spherical awareness. And as soon as I let go of the expectation about whether I was doing it right or I wasn't, and it didn't matter how many times I practiced, it just fell away then. So it's an experience that, how can I describe it? It takes you by surprise. Very, very helpful, Richard. Yeah, and I would say that it was less and less frustrating with each practice.
Yes. Thank you, Irene. The testing method we have is oftentimes a bit frustrating, especially if we've been practicing meditation for a long time. It's going to be frustrating to find out that under pressure, our ability to meditate often fails. And oftentimes we're not aware of it. And so this is a really, really helpful tool. So long as we can set aside that ego desire to prove we're great meditators, and that's the biggest challenge. Maybe it's better just assume that we just let it come out as it comes out, let the reality show itself, and take the pressure off of ourselves. But if we do that, then we'll find that we will rapidly improve, and the testing method is just revealing where you really are, which is fantastic. That's what you need to know. One of the problems with teaching meditation through a book or the online training that I have is that people don't get the kind of feedback. And oftentimes they just simply don't know where their feet are. They don't know how far along the process they actually are. And this testing method helps to get a sense of where you've gone, where you're going astray, both habitually and attitudinally and energetically, physically as well. And so I don't think there's no way to get there really without that physical testing that I can think of. But I'd like to move over to the martial arts aspect. And if you guys have any questions, you can just type them in and I'll get to them as we go. Regarding the martial arts aspect, I call it Shinkaido. This is a name that my teacher gave because he noticed an effect that it had on him. He was just a hardcore martial artist, but as we trained as I taught him the meditation, we brought that together with what he was doing and what he was teaching me. It had an effect on him that was unexpected. And so Shin means heart, consciousness, or mind, or spirit. They have many different meanings. Kai means open, and then Do means the way to open the heart. And so he came up with the name. And that is really what happens through the training. What we will be doing, in a sense, is a martial art. It is very much so but it's based off of the same meditation method, the same training we will be doing during the retreat. It's just that we'll be increasing the pressure and other qualities that will allow you to go much, much deeper. In fact, we've got a student that's been training with me recently. He's an instructor of the martial arts, in his own different martial art in his own right, and has had many years of training. I'd like him to be better that he talks about the experience than I do, because he's a student and he'd probably be more likely to have input that's valuable for you potentially if you might do the training. Justin, are you available to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm first and foremost a student of the martial arts. And for much of my martial arts career, I didn't do a lot of meditation. I didn't dive in that direction with the martial arts, and for lots of reasons. I'm also an electromechanical engineer, and so I overthink everything. That's my thing, right? So as a career, my whole career is based on that. So when I started training with Richard, I started thinking of if I could win at a battle, what would that look like? So many martial arts focus on taking control of the other person's body so they don't get control of you and harm you. But this martial art helps me maintain control of myself rather than focusing on trying to control something else. And what I found was that instead of needing to control something else outside of myself, when I could control myself, it not only vastly improved my martial skill, because I had more brain left to experience what was happening rather than trying to micromanage everything. It also had the adverse effect of helping me in my my marriage, in my interactions with other people within my company. It helped me to develop more compassion and and I understand things now that that I always thought I understood before. And so for me, um, this this martial art is so much different than the martial arts and the martial art community that I've been connected to for about 25, 30 years now. And the gains that I have made and the understanding that I have made in just the short time we've been training has improved both my life outside of martial arts. It's improved my job because I'm connecting with people um, rather than being worried about them taking control of me or something like that, and help me gain the confidence to at a level that I just hadn't experienced before. So it's improving the class that I teach in martial arts, and it's just improving a lot of things. So I'm really actually looking forward to joining the class tonight. So anyway, if anybody, if anybody has any questions about that, um, definitely let me know. Martial arts is one of those things, and that's fairly simple, but very also very complex. It's just like the meditation. So it's really an amazing. It's been an amazing journey for me.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. Yeah. So the essence of the martial art training and the essence of the meditation training is the same. We have a different set of pressures that we will use during the meditation retreat. Of course, we'll have a much simpler, slower paced process, but we will have many activities that you might find a lot of nature type activities that you'll be engaging with nature and find that it to be quite rejuvenating and educating and connecting. Like you'll start to become more aware of your connection to your environment, to nature, towards the vibrance and aliveness that's all around you. And that's really the key to living a healthy life. It's key to healthier relationships. It's key to your improvement in your work, your job. It's key to improving your hobbies. It's key to improving your health. It's key to everything. It's the source of everything. And it's something that modern society has lost track of. And I suspect we've lost track of it a long time ago. It's not just recent, but as we go along in our very beta brain, left hemisphere, task-oriented approach to life, we're cutting out the soul. We're cutting out the life energy itself. Speaking of which, I got a praying mantis on me. Just a moment. All right. Oh, he's still on me. All right. So if there are no questions on that, we'll just go on to the next aspect, the thing that's coming up, and that'll be in late May. And that will be the Spirit of Truth course. Anybody who's taking bodily awakening or rejuvenation would be available to access that training. The Spirit of Truth is have you noticed? And it's oftentimes easy to notice this in other people, and sometimes we don't notice it in ourselves. Have you noticed how common it is for people to lie to themselves, to deceive themselves, to misguide themselves, to undermine themselves, to put themselves up or put themselves down? The way that we do this is so habitual that most of us don't recognize we do it to ourselves. Oh, some of us do. Some of us recognize that we do it to ourselves. And even though we recognize it, we might not be able to stop it. It's an insidious place to be within the nervous system that we betray ourselves. If we betray ourselves, we cannot trust ourselves. And if we cannot trust ourselves, we cannot trust our mind and our body, and especially if the two can't trust each other, we're lost. We're in a fog of an inner war. And the Spirit of Truth is a course that will help you to cut through that fog. You see, human beings we're complicated creatures. We have this capacity to, you ever look at a wall and you see like faces in the wall, right? We look at the clouds and we see animals or faces or whatever in the clouds. We look at a tree, we see faces in the bark. We have this capacity to see and create personas out of what we see, like subconsciously, not even intentionally, but within us, because of this capacity, we have actually countless personas, which we tend not to notice. Other people also tend not to notice it unless they're really paying attention. Now, I'm not talking about like some sort of psychological disorder, like multiple personality disorder or something like that. I mean, something, because those personalities actually have different names. They come out and they will talk about themselves as having a completely different life history. And, that's much more extreme. This is actually a much subtler thing that everybody has. These personas that you have all share the same history. They all call themselves the same name as you. It's just that they have different values. They have different motivations. Some of them are very destructive, and some of them are less so destructive. Some of them could be helpful in certain areas and unhelpful in other areas. It's a complicated situation. We are legion, so to speak. And the Spirit of Truth will help you to start to see this enigmatic quality in the subconscious mind and start to bring all these personas together so that they become one and you become one harmonious you again, where you started when you were very, very young before these split-offs happened. The Spirit of Truth is a course that it's a bit dangerous because it does open us up to that subconscious quality that we are kind of blissfully or maybe we're ignorant of. And it can be disconcerting when we become aware of what's going on in the subconscious mind. And so that's why I've not really spent any time advertising the course. But in late May, normally it's just an automated course. You would just sign up. Anybody could sign up for it right now who's taken Bodily Awakening and Rejuvenation. If you haven't taken that course and you would like to, you've got time. You've got a month to finish that and then take the Spirit of Truth. But in late May, I will be ushering through a group of new students who would like to take the Spirit of Truth, assuming there's interest in it. And you will have 2 weeks to complete each part. There are 4 parts that go deeper and deeper, and that are more challenging. And at the end of each 2 weeks, we'll meet for an hour and a half and have a question and answer period where I can support you through the challenges you're having and answer the questions that you have. And so we'll be meeting 4 different weekends over a period of 2 months. And you'll also be connected up to everybody in your group. We'll have previous graduates of the Spirit of Truth also in our group so that you can, as like a social group, we can meet and write our thoughts and share videos of our experiences and whatnot and get feedback from each other. It's a fantastic experience. It will open your eyes to what Carl Jung calls the shadow self, what what's his name? Who wrote The Power of Now? What's his name?
Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle, yes. Eckhart Tolle talks in the beginning of his books. He talks a bit about the shadow and this aspect of self that's sort of in torpor and comes out and acts and stuff like that. That's one aspect of a much larger realm. It's a whole realm within the subconscious. What most of us don't realize is that actually underneath your daily window of perception, you're having essentially a kind of psychedelic trip at all times. And if you can shut off this daily window of perception, you'll have mystical experiences. We actually have 2 primary mystical experiences going on at all times. One is from the left hemisphere of the brain, and one is from the right hemisphere of the brain. And they're totally different realms. They're totally different perceptions. In this course, you're going to get some feedback, some awareness of this underlying realm that's going on in the subconscious that is part of why you experience life in the way you experience it, and why, even though you might try to do things about it, you keep falling back into the same patterns. And the key is to make these things conscious. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be having mystical experiences, but the effects of these mystical experiences will start to become conscious to you. And that will allow you to then have a communication with the body and the subconscious and make some important improvements. And so that's the spirit of truth course. And I'm hoping that we can get a nice group together that will be supportive of each other, honest and sincere in their own practice. And now we'll just open it up to questions that you might have about meditation, spiritual awakening, or the courses for that matter. You can go ahead and type in the chat if you have any questions. And if not, we'll just finish it here. I read in a book by a spiritual teacher that the entire cosmos is minuscule compared to the vastness of the power that resides in every soul walking on this earth. From your perspective, do you feel this statement is accurate? It doesn't matter. I feel it doesn't matter. The reason I feel it doesn't matter is because that's not something that you have access to right now. What matters is what you have access to right now. You can only walk from where your feet are on the ground. If you never knew this information, it wouldn't make one iota of difference to your actual experience of life. It doesn't matter. Rather than coming up with assertions like this that I'm not sure how you would prove, how would you prove it? Rather than worrying about assertions like that or concerning or even thinking about it, it's oftentimes more helpful just to become aware of where your feet are, just to become aware of what your motivations are, what your values are, conscious and unconscious. Because you have to start from where you are. And it sounds like, in this case, there's a desire to start from where we are not. It doesn't mean that this power exists or doesn't exist, that we are or are not extremely powerful. It just is not helpful for me to even answer the question, right? Because if I answered it, it would just be an opinion. How would I prove it? Should I move the moon out of place and move it back? I couldn't do that in my current capacity, that's for sure. But even if I could, I wouldn't. I don't see how it would benefit anybody else. It would just be a kind of pointless display of power that isn't accessible to you. So I wonder if I've misunderstood your question, but let's work from where we are, not where we hypothetically could be. One thing I would suggest is this, though. Let's imagine that we did have such power. Let's imagine we had the power to get, like, we have the power of, like, more than a sun. I've heard this say, each soul walking the planet has more power than the sun. And let's imagine we had that power and we could just get whatever we wanted with just a simple intention. What would your life look like? I mean, just reflect on your life. How many things that you wanted in your life that you got that turned out weren't healthy for you? Right? We would destroy the world within moments. I mean, everybody's prayer was answered. If our intentions were answered, well, that would be hell. It would be hell. Because we also need the wisdom. We need the clarity. Maybe that's more important than the power. I've only started the free meditations. Do you think I'll have time to sign up for Spirit of Truth? I doubt it, because you'd have to go through the Warriors meditation. Have you seen the first half of the Warriors meditation? Go ahead and write there. The first half of the Warriors meditation is freely available. But I wouldn't think you would want to rush 2 courses. It's just too much to digest. I think by the time you got to the Spirit of Truth, you wouldn't have digested anything. But it's not that we couldn't run another Spirit of Truth later in the year. This would be a kind of a pilot program and see, how much interest there is in it. And if there is sincere interest, I might every, quarter or every 6 months run another one to allow more people to join. Yes, yes, you're welcome. Yes, that's important that you recognize that you are walking and you already are experiencing so much more out of life from what you've done so far. And we wouldn't want to rush your digestion because the body itself has to digest this information. You have to put it into your life. So rushing is not the key to making progress. Another question. I've heard several speakers say that we already are what we are seeking for, and there is nothing we can do to awaken, as the ego has to collapse for us to awaken. All right. The first question to ask is, what do they mean by awaken? And the second question is that we already have what we're searching for, but what we're searching for will vary from person to person. Like, we don't all have the same goals. Right? So the statement itself seems sort of maybe not that well formed, but possibly somewhat meaningless. Because our words have very specific meanings. And this is the sort of problem with the awakening realm and spirituality and New Age thinking, is that we get really loose with our terminology, such that we're sounds like we're all talking about the same thing, but we might not be talking about the same thing at all. Like, what one person means by awakening is almost certainly not what I mean by it. And it's almost certainly not what the neighbor or the person right next to them means by it. It's a real challenge. And then we've got ego. What do we mean by ego? We're not all searching for awakening. And many of us who think we are searching for awakening are actually not searching for awakening. We're searching for escape. We're searching for escape. Or we're seeking to be understood. But escape is not awakening. Seeking to be understood is not awakening. That might be too much to ask, to be honest. I mean, hardly any of us understands ourselves. To seek to be understood by somebody else is even more challenging, right? If you've got someone in your life that actually wants to understand you and is willing to listen, you've been blessed beyond measure. Even better, if you want to notice what's going on with you, you've been blessed even beyond that. But that doesn't mean that your life is going to be so much easier. What I mean by awakening, to the degree that I can share it, is a completely harmonious interaction between the left and right hemispheric perspectives of the brain. The right hemispheric perspective of the brain is a perception of the interconnectivity of all that is. The left hemispheric centric perception is the thing that's trying to understand everything, the thing that's trying to define everything, the thing that's, analyzing our experiences, even those experiences, and trying to conclude based off of experiences that are not definable. Like, if you have a mystical experience of the totality of being, it's not measurable. It cannot be defined. There's no word that will actually sum it up. But part of you will probably still try to sum it up, try to control it. And so there's this inner peace, a settling kind of thing that happens, oftentimes through much meditation, but there could be other means by which a person starts an awakening process. But an awakening process, as I mean it, is that you're awakening to the reality of you, not your beliefs. Well, that's not true. You are awakening to beliefs that are not matching to reality. And then you're allowing those beliefs to fade away. You're awakening to your attitudes that don't support or are opposed to reality. And what I mean by reality is something that's beyond your definition. I don't just mean physical reality. I mean something that we only see a tiny fraction. We only perceive a tiny fraction of reality. And even that which we perceive is more like what you see on the screen. Right now, you're seeing me on the screen. But actually, what's happening behind the scenes, in the hardware and software of your computer is code. This code is presenting pixels on your screen that look like me. That light shines into your eyes, gets turned into electrical chemical response that travels through into your brain, and then your brain from that puts together a bunch of memories to essentially form what you see in your mind. What you see in your mind isn't truly reflective of the external reality. The reality is, it's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing. You are a tricky thing. You're the trickiest thing there is. Right? The question is, do you awaken to that fact? Do you see how you deceive yourself unconsciously? And do you see how to move to a calm, grounded, centered openness that allows everything within to start to settle, for clarity to emerge, for a true awakening, where the little s aspect, little s self aspect of you, the personal self aspect of you, is not hyper controlling everything all the time. And it's not so much that the ego dissolves. That's not really what happens. It opens like a flower. This is the idea of the Buddha's flower, that opening flower that the Buddha is sitting on. That's the ego. It doesn't dissolve, it opens. The desire to dissolve the ego, that the result, if you were successful, would just make you totally dysfunctional. You wouldn't be able to move on this planet. You wouldn't be able to communicate with other people. You wouldn't be able to work. You'd just be dysfunctional. I mean, if you want to be one with all things, just kill your body. Do we really want that? Maybe our life has a purpose, right? Maybe our life has a purpose. Maybe this experience is not a problem. Maybe this experience is an education. An education on what is the question? An education on you. A you that you might not yet realize or experience. Now, in a certain sense, in the subconscious, yes, all of us are actually in some way moving towards awakening. But this is a very slow process, and it doesn't mean that in this particular, you as Tim are going to have an awakening in your life, even like an experience. It's important that we separate like awakening experiences from the awakening process, from a larger awakening. We can have an awakening experience where, we just recognize we feel connected to the totality of being. But a half hour later, you might not be experiencing that anymore. That's an awakening experience. You might have a profound mystical experience where you perceive yourself as the totality of the universe. The next day, you're just back to your old stinky self again. Right? Those are awakening experiences. Then there's the awakening path where we actually start to unify the self, develop a healthy inner relationship and a healthy relationship between ourselves and our environment, where we start to see the value of these. I talked about the two subconscious sort of psychedelic experiences that are going on all the time, where these two perceptions, they come to peace with each other because they're kind of a little bit antagonistic. They have opposite perspectives, right? All right. And then there's the larger awakening, which is where you start to actually feel this connectivity through your life, just as just a state of being. It's just your default way of being. It doesn't mean that it's always there. There'll be moments where you're kind of in the personality, but just like an overall, like if you were to look at the totality of your day, it's just that's the overall way that you perceive. But you also perceive, you're still aware of where your body ends and the environment begins. Right? There's the personal perspective, the embodied perspective is still there. You're still aware of your name. It just no longer has the same. You're no longer defending your name so much, and you're no longer you're no longer concerned about opinions about you so much. because even your own opinion doesn't matter anymore. I mean, you are what you are. But a lot of things start to happen that change, and the way you interact with your environment, the way you hold your body and treat your body and your mind, all of that changes. And it's usually a gradual process. With some individuals, it happens quickly. But it's better not to look at this process, like to look up to it as if it was something for like a select few. It's you. I mean, it's you. You're not waking up to anything else. You're waking up to you. You've been with you your whole life. You've never not been with you. You just don't see this aspect of you. You don't see the connectivity of it all normally. And maybe many people have never seen it. Essentially, you don't see your potential. And and therefore, when someone else starts to demonstrate some of the qualities of that potential, we tend to look up to them a lot. What we're really looking up to is this aspect of ourselves, the potential within ourselves. What I would suggest is instead of looking up to it, we allow it to settle to the depth of our being, because that's where it truly is. It's at the bottommost point. It's the foundational point. It's not up. It's at the basis of you. So we allow it to be accessible. We allow it to be not special, though it will always be incredibly beautiful. It's unspeakably beautiful because it's whole in a way that the word holy doesn't even get to. I mean, it literally is seamless. It's whole. And that's you. So wonderful. All right. Homeschooling and unschooling, I'm not familiar with what that means, appear to be becoming more popular, especially in so-called spiritual communities. The traditional thinking was and still is that many in society, that a child needs to go to school to experience enough social interactions to achieve a high level of social skills. Do you feel it possible for a child to achieve social maturation if they are home or unschooled? And if so, how? You're asking almost like a sociology question here. So I'm not sure why you would ask me that particular question. But I do have some experience with I live in a rural community and we have homeschooling here. And we have an old high school that no one really uses anymore. But the kids that do the homeschooling meet there and they still get their socialization. They still play their games and whatever it is that they would do. It's just that their education, their formal education, is at home. And actually, if I'm being honest, they're a lot more mature than the other kids their age. That's been my experience. And they're a lot better educated. It's been one of my experiences so far. I've yet to see an exception to that. So they also tend to be much better at critical thinking and abstract thinking. Like they're actually learning how to think, whereas most kids in school are not learning how to think. What I'm about to say will sound really offensive because we all like to think we are able to think, but the vast majority of us actually really don't think. We just regurgitate the same opinions and thoughts that we've always had. Thinking takes effort, and it takes breaking out of the way you already perceive things. I mean, by definition, if you're thinking along the lines that you already thinking, it's not thinking. It's just regurgitating the same perceptions, right? So thinking requires breaking out of your pattern, and that takes a lot of energy from the body. The brain doesn't like to do it, to be honest. I mean, once you develop the capacity for it and you find the beauty in it, then the brain can start to enjoy it. But it's an ability and a skill, and it's not just a skill. It's an ability. It's a neurological capacity that takes the individual's effort to develop. And it takes a lot of effort and a lot of interest. And just regurgitating facts at school isn't that. Just learning how to do mathematical equations isn't that. That's not thinking. Thinking is something else entirely. And it's a beautiful quality when you have it. But when you start thinking, it's very difficult for you to be brainwashed. You're not going to follow the herd anymore. And all we have to do is look at what happened over the last 4 years. People follow the herd. They're told, do what they're told, and they tend to not question. Thinking requires questioning. And you will be wrong sometimes. But if you make it wrong to ask questions and to explore, then you will never develop the capacity. And you will be manipulated. The whole world is playing a game. And that is, the game is manipulating each other. And the question is, have you woken up to that fact? And spoiler alert, you're probably doing it too, in ways that you're likely unconscious to. It's an unconscious game. And this is in large part what we're waking up from. That's the sleep state. And there are some individuals, kind of sociopathic individuals in the world and groups that take advantage. I mean, you know, what is commercial advertising about? That's all manipulating you to buy a certain product that probably you don't want. They want you to buy the product. They don't much generally care that you need it, right? Now, there are exceptions to that. But if we were to be honest, most of the advertising out there, you know, you see pharmaceutical ads where, you know, someone's running through the fields and the flowers. And at the end is, you know, about some, maybe it's like a anti-anxiety drug or something like that. And it's, you know, at the end, it tells you how it's, you know, the side effects are, you know, psychosis, death, and, you know, all this stuff. That's manipulation. You know, they say it really quick and they list like 30 different symptoms, side effects. Those are not side effects. Those are effects. They're effects. They're not side effects. They just come along with the package. I mean, I get all of them. Maybe your constitution will ward off some of them, but there's going to be effects. Side effects is that's marketing. So we wake up to some of this stuff, right? And this is not a moral statement against all of that. That's just what happens when we're not awake. And if you're not awake to it, guess what? You're the one who's being manipulated, right? Let's see what else we got here. When I first started to join spiritual community groups, I was directed to some groups that were run and contained members who claimed they were channeling extraterrestrial and interdimensional beings. There were stories of sending out light and love to combat the supposed control by some of these other world forces. Many of their writings appear to, something blocking my screen here. I'm going to get rid of it. Appear to something like a script from Star Trek, and many of the speakers seem to put on stage voices and movements. Although some of what they conveyed seemed helpful, are these stories and acts likely an attempt to make spirituality seem special and to gain attention? And I don't know. I mean, it seems like you're asking me to assess what some other person who I've never met is motivation is. I mean, they themselves may believe it. From their perspective, it may be totally true. I mean, I can't say anything about it. But again, this is where the word spirituality has very different meanings. So I'm not sure how spirituality is specific to channeling alien beings. Does it matter? Are beings on another world more spiritual than beings here? To me, it's actually it could be a kind of escapism, right? Like, spirituality is about, at least from my perspective, I shouldn't say what it is to everybody, but from my perspective, is about that connectivity of the totality of being. Whether you're talking with an alien or you feel the life force in the wall next to you, you know, you maybe take care of your family, maybe be present with your body and mind. Maybe it's in the simple things. Like we tend to overcomplicate things. And I suspect if there are aliens out there that are capable of traveling through space, their technology is way more advanced than ours. And there's virtually nothing we could do to stop them if they came here. So I'm not going to worry about it. But that's just me. And I'm not going to judge anybody else for whatever they're doing. I'm just pointing out that there are differences in the term spirituality. And that's not what I mean by spirituality. That's not what TEM is about. Although, in fairness, I have spent a large amount of time with groups that have done that when I was young. And what I can say from my experience is usually they're not that psychologically stable. I mean, I don't mean that I saw them I mean, like I actually mentored with one. I was mentored by someone in that spiritualist sort of psychic type community for several years. And so I met many people that were famous in the kind of communities that did the very same things. But they weren't necessarily all that psychologically stable, and their home lives were not harmonious. They didn't find inner peace as a result of it. And so I'm wondering, what is it that they're getting out of it? And sometimes it's feeling like I'm fighting the evil forces of the universe. I'm saving the planet. Maybe it's a feeling of saving. Maybe it's an egoic inflation. That could be. Or maybe there's actually aliens out there and this psychic work is doing something to protect our planet. I don't know. There's a statement, dissolve desire to dissolve ego. It's not even dissolving desire. I mean, like you literally cannot do anything without desire. You had to have desire in order to come on to enjoy our conversation right now. Desire is not the problem. It's a lack of contextual awareness that's the problem. See, we have desires that are out of context with reality. Once we become aware, contextually aware, and grounded and settled, our desires naturally start to change and become more healthy. The desire to dissolve desires is an unhealthy desire. It's an unnecessary waste of energy. Though I understand that this is a very, very common teaching, I also see that it doesn't work. I've yet to meet a single person that actually works for. The people that actually make progress, they focus on grounding, connectivity, keeping the mind calm and clear. They focus on positivity. Right? They do what's effective. Some of these statements, they sound great, but when you actually look at what they mean, it doesn't work out. There's nothing you need to dissolve. You don't need to combat anything. You don't need to kill desire. I mean, you literally could not exist without desire. There's nothing you could do. Every movement you make is coming from a conscious or unconscious desire. You got an itch here. Just an itch. It's totally subconscious. You reach over and scratch it. That's a subconscious desire to alleviate a discomfort. You see it? A lot of these ideas are sort of pseudo-religious ideas that have just not gone questioned, and they've been passed down from generation to generation, and people aren't thinking. This is why we have to think. But we think within context. We have this connective awareness, and through that connective awareness, then we think. And so that both aspects of the human being, the discerning aspect and the connecting aspect, are now working together so that we can actually walk the path of unification. All right. Only got about 10 minutes left. You talked about facing the shadow aspect of self. Could you describe the process we will be undergoing in your retreats? First is the shadow aspect that we will be working on. That's in this course, The Spirit of Truth. That's actually an online course. The process there's a whole process that leads up to it. You'll go through the Warriors Meditation course where you're going to learn how to get that contextual awareness, learn through spherical awareness training. You learn a basic quality of how to ground effectively. You learn about alpha and conscious alpha and unconscious alpha. These are brainwave states. One is where you're aware and in a calm, relaxed, rest and digest state. That's like the basic foundation. We've got a little bit of a window into the subconscious mind. We might not be seeing anything, but we'll start to become aware of things that are moving around inside of us, so to speak. The disharmonies can start to emerge. You practice and you learn how to center and remain centered and grounded when disharmonious things start to emerge. And then from there, you learn how to develop a capacity to identify those things specifically, to become very aware of those energies specifically. to be able to interact with those energies in a positive and helpful way without losing ground. And then that's just like prerequisite stuff. That's the beginning. Beyond that, I can't explain. You're going to enter into neurological states that you just don't normally access, and it's pointless for me to even talk about. But it's powerful, and you've probably never experienced anything quite like it. It works, so long as you are being honest about it. To be honest, the course is not dangerous for most people. It's dangerous for people that just don't want to be honest with themselves. I mean, if you want to go on fooling yourselves, do not join the Spirit of Truth. It's not going to be helpful for you. If you have a tendency to put your head in the sand or deny things about yourself, right? If your first response when an aspect of you that isn't pleasant comes up is to deny it or defend it, probably not the course for you. You might not sincerely be wanting to make progress and to unify. I mean, the first thing you have to do is accept, hey, I've not always been an angel. I have some pretty dark thoughts sometimes, and I am not always kind to myself, and I'm not always kind to other people. And, there's just a lot of stuff going on. And you have a lot of attitudinal issues that maybe you hide from most people. The problem is, deep inside, you know it, and you can't escape. And it's not just that you know it on one level. The left hemisphere of the brain knows it. That's the thing that judges. And the right hemisphere of the brain knows it on a visceral level. And you can't hide from that. You think you can, but you can't. It doesn't work. Your overall quality of life diminishes. It's what I call psychic debt. When you've betrayed yourself and you betrayed reality, every time you betray reality, you're like a loading weight on you. You're filling yourself up with a kind of darkness, a distortion, a kind of insanity. And it adds up and it pulls on you. And your body ages quicker and your mind ages quicker and your spirit withers. And that's the biggest thing. Your spirit withers and hardens. Or it gets too soft and weak and just, victimy. It's not the true human spirit anymore. It's a distortion. It's like the undead. It can get that bad. Bad's not the right word. It can get that hellish. And a lot of us are walking through our lives with some degree of that. Maybe almost everybody, to be honest. Maybe everybody. Right? Let's just say everybody. But I wouldn't advertise this course to everybody. This is only going to help those people that are like, look, I just really want to get to the heart of things. I want to get to the truth of things. I want to completely stop bullshitting myself. I want to take responsibility for my life. I'm not going to play the victim role anymore. I'm not going to play the denial role anymore. Or at least I'm going to do a lot less of that stuff. Right? I just really want to cut out all the nonsense. Not in other people. In here. And that's what your motivation is. You're probably going to make progress. I'm certain you're going to make progress if that's what it is. Right? And you'll see things about yourself that you had never imagined were there, but not just in the negative, quote unquote, part. You're going to find within you the spirit of truth, because we have both aspects. We have this totally clear, totally truthful, the true you self part. We have the deceiving aspect. They're both there. It's almost like a war between them. Now, that truthful part is never battling. It's not really at war. It's the other one that's at war, and it doesn't like the truth. It doesn't want to see reality. It wants to spin. It wants to shuffle. It wants to distort. It wants to get ahead in ways that are not, that if everybody knew, you wouldn't be able to pull it off, right? Or it wants to avoid attention, to avoid responsibility. It wants to get attention to play a victim role. I mean, there's a million different ways. It can do the dominant role, it can do the recessive role. It takes on a million different forms. It's all nonsense. It's insanity. It really is. And that's what we're awakening from, in a sense. I mean, very practically, that's what we're awakening from. The disadvantages gets a lot harder to actually lie and manipulate. Like if that's the way you've been getting ahead in life is by lying and manipulating, you just like, cut yourself off at the ankles. You got nothing left. It's going to take you a while to actually find truly helpful ways to move through the world, supporting other people, supporting life, not being a predator. Sometimes the predators look really like kind people. In fact, most of them do. Most of them are like, they look like just the nicest people in the world. And they seem so kind and they seem so empathetic, and they're just vampires in their behavior. You just got to scratch beneath the surface to find out. But spoiler alert, you got some of that in you too. Right? It's important to recognize that. Let's be honest. How do I know all this stuff? Because I've found the vampire in me. I found the werewolf in me. I found the manipulator. I found the arrogance. I found it all. Right? It's all there. But it's the acknowledgement of it and the experience of it that is the transformative power. Right? And the more you see it, and the more ugly it feels, because it feels ugly when you see it, the less you want to go there. It's harder and harder to go there. It's just, it's so difficult. My wife will say, sometimes you need to lie. And I get your perspective, but it's just really not that much in me anymore. It's like, really, I just don't have it in me anymore. It's the most uninspiring thing imaginable. You pretty much just get what you get with me. And that's that. And I don't mean to be offensive. But I'm going to be there as honest as possible. And sometimes people are offended by reality. They don't like the truth. And if that's the case, you probably don't want to spend any time around me. I don't mean I'm going to be judging you like, you're a liar. I don't mean like that. I mean, just about anything. You ask me my opinion on stuff, I just tend to tell you to you, and it may not be an opinion you like. But that's not my problem. It's not a judgment against you. So that just means you're actually thinking, right? If you're deceptive and you hide yourself, you really can't think. It's not possible to truly think because you're deceptive to yourself. And thinking that's healthy requires honesty, right? And we'll be signing off here. I got one more question, and then we'll. Actually, there's a few more here. Do you think that there is a genetic ability or capacity to develop how to critically think? Yes, I do. Some people are much better at it than others naturally, but it seems that everybody can improve, like dramatically improve, right? But if we don't want to be honest with ourselves, then not so much, right? And it's going to require that you actually put in the effort. And if we kind of feel like we just like comfort and we tend to get rebellious and we have to actually put in effort to something, it's going to really, the brain takes a lot of energy. So it's quite intensive. But start critically thinking about things that you really love, right? Start critically thinking about things you really love. Then you'll start to enjoy the process more and you'll develop much quicker. Develop the capacity. I feel a lack of desire would result in contentment. Possibly. I don't know what that, is there any more to it? I mean, it sounds like we're thinking contentment is a specific elevated state. What is it about? I mean, yeah, so maybe. I'm not sure contentment is in and of itself a particularly high value. I mean, like I know lots of people that are perfectly content to be real stinkers. On its own, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like, okay, I just don't want to grow, right? I just don't want to develop. If you really want to develop, you won't be content with the deceptions that you have become comfortable with, right? You see it? So contentment on its own doesn't. It's another one of those sort of spiritual tropes that doesn't mean anything. It actually sort of makes you feel like someone says something wise, but it's actually super destructive. Like contentment on its own doesn't. It could actually be a really unhealthy thing. What's the context in which we're talking about content? Like the way in which contentment is actually helpful is the left hemisphere of the brain becoming content with the fact that it's never going to understand the perspective of the right hemisphere. That there are certain experiences that the connectivity of life is beyond the logical, rational mind's ability to define. The universe itself is immeasurable, fundamental, because by the definition of measurement, you'd have to get outside of the universe to measure it. And our mind just doesn't do well with that sort of, with immeasurable, right? Like imagine nothing. It's difficult to do. Now, like logically explain nothing. It's difficult to do. Like you could sort of say, yeah, well, it's just nothing. But now let's imagine that nothing is conscious. Now your mind has trouble, like, where are the borders to it? It's infinite. Like the mind doesn't imagine infinite well because the mind's trying to box things. It just doesn't, it's just certain things it doesn't do well. Like the logical mind doesn't understand love. Not really. You can't explain love. If someone has never experienced it and you're like, okay, love is like, and you explain it, they don't get it. There's just certain things that the logical mind just doesn't do. And the egoic aspect is highly connected to that quality, desiring to control. Well, that aspect of you actually benefits from developing over time the contentment when it recognizes, okay, I can't understand certain aspects. I need to understand love to a certain degree, like functionally. I need to understand that love is not just affection. Love is not just empathy. Love is not just compassion. Love is not just comfort. Love is like all of those things are part of love. But love is much more than all of those things. Like if love is just like, we have this big, cute, fluffy, lovely dog, cats. Take him out in the street sometimes, and kids will come up and want to give him a hug, and it's totally affectionate. That's not love. Well, they're not going to take responsibility for Cass. They're not going to mentor Cass to become the fullness of a dog, the fullness of his potential as Cass. That's love. And affection can be a very dangerous and negative thing. Like if you give affection when your child's misbehaving, your child's going to misbehave more. Because it's a reward. Like if you reward bad behavior, you're going to get more of it. There's nothing else that's going on in society that's like current society is a testimony to that fact. We're rewarding a lot of unhealthy behavior, so we get more of it. This is just true in your own life. If you reward yourself for misbehaving and for negative thoughts and whatnot, if you justify them, you're going to get more of it. Part of the awakening path is actually just acknowledging that love means sometimes saying no. Many times it means saying no. In fact, maybe most times it means saying no. That's not a problem. It's not a problem. Oftentimes that no is to yourself. Right. All right. Someone has a comment about sought, spirit of truth. Taking spirit of truth, I discovered that my mind is lying to me pretty much the whole time. Yeah, that's one of the harder ones that we tend to notice. All right. And so I'm going to wrap this up because I've got a class I got to teach tonight, teaching the martial arts. But we're going to have it's going to be a wonderful time. It'll probably be it'll be a demarcation point in your life if you can come out here and join the seminar. Before you do, I definitely recommend you at least take one of my online courses so you get a sense for me, for my personality, right? For how I teach. It might not apply, it might not appeal to you. Like I'm very straight about things. Right? If you want someone that's going to dance around and trying to make you feel like really good about yourself and all that, that's not me. I'm not going to make you feel bad about yourself, but I'll point out, like, that's just not a healthy way of thinking. I'll point that out to you. And the reason I would do that is because that's how I want my teacher to be with me. That's how my teacher was with me. And it saved me a lot of time. Like if you're sincere about wanting to develop, maybe that would be helpful in your life, right? Someone who's not going to dance around bullshit with you. Right? Someone's not going to fluff you up and make you feel good about things that is just like an ego stroking, right? I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. I appreciate you as you are, but I also appreciate your potential. And if you appreciate your potential, and you want to really make an effort and move strongly towards that potential, the training here in my facility might be very helpful for you. One thing, sure, you won't be able to bullshit yourself. Like the testing that we will do would just cut right through the nonsense. And that's super helpful if that's what you want. And it's super unpleasant if that's what you don't want. All right. And with that, love and respect to you all. And hope to see you there.